ADR. Promoting dialogue.
It's May Day in Dakar, 1 o'clock in Abuja. Good afternoon and many thanks for staying tuned to West Africa Democracy Radio Broadcasting on 94.9 FM and worldwide on WADR.org. Welcome to Newslink. Here are the top stories. Global Terrorism Index ranks Central Sahel as the latest epicenter of world's terrorism. Ghanaians react on Ghana's historic joining as the country turns 68 today.
Obviously, this is not where we are supposed to be at 68. Ghana is feeling like a grown man who has not achieved so much.
The politicians we've had have not led us well. We give them so much. You look at their pay, their salaries, their allowances. They still keep taking from us.
Guinea's Prime Minister Ba speaks about the possible candidacy of Transitional President General Doumbouya.
Depending on what is adopted by the Constitution, the first 6 months will be crucial to determine whether candidates are eligible or not.
And Nigeria's police arrest a former immigration officer attempting to sell firearms to bandits. Please stay tuned for details of these stories and more.
Here is Augustine Coley with Newslink.
Many thanks for joining our broadcast and welcome to our listeners within the sub-region and beyond. This edition begins with the Sahel region, where the latest Global Terrorism Index report indicates that the Central Sahel remains the epicenter of terrorism in the world. The report states that more than half of the deaths related to terrorism are recorded in this region of West Africa. However, these countries have made some progress in terms of security. Here are more details with Eche Atisu.
Out of a little over 7,500 deaths worldwide in 2024 due to terrorism, the Central Sahel accounts for nearly 4,000 or 51%. These figures are included in the Global Terrorism Index report published on Wednesday. The document further states that Niger, Burkina Faso and Mali remain among the most affected countries since 2017. Burkina Faso continues to be the country hardest hit by the terrorist crisis. However, the country has shown some progress, with deaths decreasing from 2,000 in 2023 to 1,500 in 2024 due to the terrorist crisis. Niger recorded 930 deaths in 2024, while Mali has made progress, recording 604 deaths in 2024. Despite these improvements, the security situation remains fragile in these countries. According to the Global Terrorism Index, most attacks in the Sahel are carried out by two terrorist groups, the Group for the Support of Islam and Muslims, GSIM, and the Islamic State in the Sahel, EIS. It is worth recalling that Mali, Burkina Faso and Niger have formed a confederation, the Alliance of Sahel States, AES, primarily to combat terrorism in the Central Sahel. It should be noted that the index annually ranks countries based on the impact of terrorism using indicators such as the number of attacks, deaths, injuries and hostages.
Atisu with that report. In Mali, the transitional authorities have dismissed several administrative officials and military officers following the tragedies linked to illegal gold mining. At the Council of Ministers on Wednesday, a series of new measures were taken to combat illegal mining. From Bamako, here is Aliyu Cham's report, voiced by Abdullahi Hassan.
Following the landslides at illegal gold mining sites that caused several deaths in the localities of Koyoko and Kangaba and Bilakolto in Keneba, the authorities are cleaning up. The transitional president dismisses the prefects, sub-prefects, those responsible for the security forces, water and forest services, and sanitation services. A series of measures to combat illegal gold mining have also been taken. Daoud Ali Mohammadin is Malian Minister of Security.
Today, we must strengthen the authority of the state in the management and oversight of the exploitation of mineral resources in another country. We must no longer simply stand by, offering assistance, or continuing to merely observe, condemn, and then move on. Today, we must take decisive measures to ensure our populations are protected at all levels. We cannot allow the interests of certain individuals or companies to lead to excesses. Therefore, it is essential to genuinely reinforce the authority of the state.
The government has also suspended the issuance of artisanal mining permits to foreigners. In addition to more repressive measures against illegal gold mining, the authorities promise to intensify controls to ensure that these are strictly respected.
Through one of the roles of France and its security measures, we are empowered to ensure that seized materials will be confiscated and allocated to the state's patrimony.
Mali has recorded numerous landslides of artisanal mines in recent months, causing around 100 deaths, including women.
Bamako correspondent Aliyu Cham's report voiced by Abdullahi Hassan. In Guinea, the return to constitutional order has been scheduled for 2025, as announced by Prime Minister Amadou Oreba during a press conference held on Wednesday evening in Conakry. The Prime Minister also addressed the potential candidacy of the transitional president, General Mamadi Doumbouya, as well as the issue of kidnappings involving individuals who are critical of the military transition. Christopher Aticho reports.
It was in a tense socio-political climate that Prime Minister Amadou Oreba presented himself to the press. On the return to constitutional order, the Prime Minister reassures that it will be effective this year 2025.
What must be remembered in 2025 is that the return to constitutional order will be realized, and from that moment onward, the country will be fully reintegrated into a normal constitutional framework.
On the possible candidacy of General Mamadi Doumbouya for the presidential election, he calls for calm and indicates that the transitional president will decide when the time comes.
Depending on what is adopted by the Constitution, the first 6 months will be crucial to determine whether candidates are eligible or not. However, it cannot be ignored that the Prime Minister of the government will be aligned with the President of the Republic.
Regarding the increased kidnappings of social and political figures, Amadou Oreba says he regrets the situation and exonerates his government.
Nous regrettons qu'il y ait des situations où des personnes peuvent être considérées comme disparues.
We regret that there are situations where individuals may be considered missing in the Republic of Guinea. As the head of the government, I have emphasized to everyone that all actions must be governed by judicial oversight. Under no circumstances should any loophole be opened that allows extrajudicial actions to undermine the current transition process or tarnish the image of the Republic and the government.
Ternir l'image de la République et l'image du gouvernement.
The Prime Minister also announced that he had given instructions to the Minister of Territorial Administration to relaunch the inter-Guinean political dialogue.
That was Conakry correspondent Cheno Alpha Ibrahim Ambadet's report, voiced by Christopher Aticho.
More stories coming up on West Africa Democracy Radio. Newslink continues.
Now, Ghana's President John Dramani Mahama says future generations will not judge the current leaders favorably if they fail to wisely manage the country's resources at their disposal. Delivering the 68th Independence Anniversary address this Thursday, he emphasized the importance of leaders being good stewards of the trust placed in them by the citizens. President Mahama also announced that his administration is taking necessary actions to break the cycle of dependency on foreign aid. He committed to providing bold leadership to overcome the turbulent economic crisis affecting the country. President John Dramani Mahama spoke on the theme Reflect, Review and Reset. Here is an excerpt of his speech.
Rather than perpetually decrying our failures, every anniversary of our independence must present an opportunity for us to account for the legacy we are building for our next generation. We of this generation are merely custodians of this country and resources. They are entrusted to us to manage them wisely today for the generation of tomorrow. These independence anniversaries must therefore be a moment of reflection, not on what we have done for ourselves, but on how well we have stewarded national assets for those we will hand them over to in the future. Our story cannot be one of missed opportunities. It must be one of continued effort to achieve far more than we can boast of now. Posterity will not accept our failures or take them kindly. As President, I am committed to providing the bold leadership and the clarity of vision that is needed to navigate the turbulent economic waters we are sailing in currently, while safeguarding our future.
Ghana's President John Dramani Mahama. Meanwhile, ahead of Ghana's independence anniversary, Wadr spoke with some citizens about what their thoughts have been of the country. Here are some voices from the streets of Accra speaking with Wadr's Echiatisu.
Ghana is 68 years. Obviously, this is not where we are supposed to be at 68. Ghana is feeling like a grown man who has not achieved so much. We are still riding on past glories, and I feel like it's high time we as a country have some introspection and rethink some of the things that we are doing. We lack basic infrastructure. Standard of living is very low. We are moving towards being one of the poorest on our continent, not even to talk of the world at large. And so it is time to, rethink some of the things that we are doing.
What do you make of the journey of Ghana as your country turns 68?
I think Ghana has a lot to do. I don't know if it's because we like being a third world country, but we have so many resources. We are well educated. Most people who even attended school in Ghana are big people in other countries. So I don't know why we are where we are today. Yes, there's improvements everywhere, but we need to focus on Ghana, especially in the north, because Ghana is not Accra. So we need to focus on the north. We are still so poor in the northern parts of Ghana. It's appalling. There are people there who have never ever been to the classroom before, and it's 2020.
I mean, ups and downs for the past 68 years, and I believe that we still have a long way to go as a nation. There have been a lot of issues back and forth in terms of the economy, infrastructure, and a whole lot. We still expect our governments to do the best for us to alleviate our plight, but unfortunately, there seem to be struggles.
Looking at the countries we started with, like Singapore and the rest, we are really far behind. It's very sad. The politicians we've had have not led us well. We give them so much. You look at their pay, their salaries, their allowances. They still keep taking from us. All the politicians we've had from all the political parties. We can't continue like this. And I think all this boils down to us having strong laws, having an effective constitution that can hold public office holders accountable.
Some Ghanaian citizens speaking there. Let's travel to Abidjan, the Ivorian capital, where Ghana's President Mahama visited on Wednesday for an official and friendly meeting. During the visit, Mahama held a meeting with his Ivorian counterpart, Alassane Ouattara. Imo Edit reports.
Ivorian President Alassane Ouattara invited his Ghanaian counterpart John Dramani Mahama to persuade the countries of the AES Confederation to remain members of ECOWAS.
We place our trust in you, Mr. President, that the opportunity of your discussions with this brotherly nation may enable you to persuade them to remain within the ECOWAS for the sake of the future and the peoples of West Africa. And I would also like to extend an appeal to the AES countries to convey that we are stronger together, whether as 15, 4 or 3.
Additionally, the two leaders discussed their economic cooperation, especially in the production of the export of cocoa. Together, they account for more than half of the world's cocoa production.
Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire's economy are some of the biggest economies in West Africa, and if the two countries do well, it impacts on the whole of the sub-region. We're happy to continue to cooperate with Cote d'Ivoire on the cocoa initiative because our two countries produce almost 80% of the total cocoa available in this world, and so it is good for us to maintain solidarity in both cocoa production and how we market the cocoa in the world so that we're able to create prosperity for our people.
Abidjan and Accra reaffirmed their shared commitment to support the Côte d'Ivoire-Ghana Cocoa Initiative. They also pledged to enhance their cooperation in the fields of mining, energy, and the fight against illegal gold mining.
Imo added with the details of Abidjan correspondent Albin Ade's report. You are listening to Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal. Here is a reminder of our top stories. Global Terrorism Index ranks Central Sahel as the latest epicenter of world's terrorism. Ghanaians react to Ghana's historic joining as the country turns 68 today. Guinea's Prime Minister Barr speaks about the possible candidacy of transitional President General Doumbouya. Still ahead in the news, second summit for democracy and political accountability kicks off in Liberia. We also have guest interview and sports news. Please stay with us.
Fresh and breaking news all the time. Hear it first as the news breaks, only on West Africa Democracy Radio. Newslink continues.
Many thanks for staying with us. Let's travel to Nigeria as authorities in the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, have arrested a former immigration officer attempting to sell sophisticated firearms to armed groups operating in the Abuja-Kaduna corridor. Usma Umar has more in this report.
The officer in charge of the anti-kidnapping unit, Mustafa Mohammed, revealed that among the recovered weapons was a Scorpion CZ EVO3, a fully automatic firearm equipped with an inbuilt silencer.
Acting on intelligence, the command intercepted those guns from a dismissed immigration officer trying to sell it to bandits terrorizing Abuja-Kaduna forest. So intelligence was received in time, and the arms were intercepted while trying to make the delivery. And if we deliver those to bandits, only God knows what is going to happen.
Meanwhile, the FCT Commissioner of Police, Olatunji Disu, has disclosed that security operations across the territory led to the arrest of 300 suspects between January 1 and February 28, 2025.
These decisive actions, driven by intelligence and executed with tactical precision, have led to the arrest of 300 suspects and the recovery of a significant catch of arms and ammunition and other illicit substances.
He further noted that the targeted raids and clearance operations were conducted in identified criminal hideouts. The commissioner reassured residents that all suspects in custody will be thoroughly investigated and prosecuted. Authorities are urging the public to remain vigilant and support security agencies by reporting suspicious activities as efforts to curb crime in the region intensify. For Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, Usman Umar reporting from Abuja.
Away from Nigeria, the second summit for democracy and political accountability has kicked off in Liberia. On the theme, exploring pathways for sustainable democracy and inclusive development in Liberia, this event is organized by Nemo Partners for Democratic Development, a prominent civil society organization in the country. The summit aims to foster meaningful dialogue on sustaining Liberia's democracy, enhancing democratic dividends, and bolstering public sector governance, the rule of law, and political equality.
Politics, analyses on major news, social matters, and all. This is A Guest.
This segment of Newslink focuses on Ghana as the West African state marks its 68th Independence Day anniversary today, March 6, 2025. Ghana was the first country south of the Sahara to gain independence in 1957, led by Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. Our guest is Dr. Asa Asante, a Ghanaian political analyst who speaks about how far Ghana has come and the prevailing challenges affecting the country.
Our forefathers fought for the emancipation of the country from the shackles and tentacles of colonial rule so as to establish a society we call our own. Today we have our own society. Our destiny are in our hands. But in terms of the things that our leaders stood for, that economic emancipation, justice, freedom, peace, and the rest of them, we need to be able to look at them and interrogate the issues and make sense of that. If you look at the issue of economic emancipation, even though we have freed ourselves from political colonization, we are still grappling with the problem of what? Economic emancipation. It is true that we have had regimes after independence who have done their bit to improve the economic lot of their people, but there is more to be done. So battling with evils such as what? Poverty, corruption, which is taking a lot of the country resources, and issue of lack of employment for young, energetic people of the country.
What can you say so far in terms of the sustenance of democracy and political stability since Ghana's independence?
We can also look at issue of political stability. It is true that we gain political independence, but the politics after independence, this country has gone through a checkered history of constitutional stability boxed up with military adventurism. But the good news is that since the birth of this republic, we have had a stability. People like us believe strongly that we will not go back to the old order. We will soldier on irrespective of problems that confront us within the political space. The good people of this country are prepared to die on the path of democracy than to survive the whims of any military adventurers because of what we have learned, the bitter lessons we have learned. So for us as a society, democracy is the only game in town. That we know, and we don't know any other thing.
Unlike some countries within the West African sub-region that are still battling with insecurity, how would you describe Ghana's joining in terms of peace and security since gaining its independence?
We've had peace since time immemorial, but it is also true that sometimes there are semblance of pockets of what? Problems, little conflicts here and there. But the good news that I can report today is that my country has been able to weather the storm and deal with those little pockets of conflict that have sometimes come up. And we continue to live in peace.
What is your reaction to President Mahama's government cancellation of a decentralized Independence Day celebration, which used to be observed during the previous administration?
I think it's the best decision he has taken against the backdrop that this is a country that we are struggling financially. Why do you want to throw some away in terms of what independence celebration? Left to me, there should not be any independence celebration. Let us celebrate it whilst we are working. It shouldn't be even a holiday. We should work and then attain that level that we can call one day that let us rest and celebrate something. Now we are in a difficult times. We need to put our shoulders to the wheel and make sure that our society is kept financially and peacefully. I think I support that decision by the president not to decentralize anything so as to do it in a modest manner, which is going to save the country a lot of millions of Ghana scarce resources. It's my hope and prayer that it will not be a 9-day wonder and that a time should come that the celebration should even last. If it's going to last, it shouldn't last more than 30 minutes. And it's just for the symbolism of it, and we'll move on. And then Ghanaians tell themselves that it is not enough to celebrate holidays, but we have work to do, and that should be the focus and direction of this country.
Dr. Asa Asante is a Ghanaian political analyst. Up next is Sankule Janko with the latest in the world of sports.
Hello there, a warm welcome and thank you for joining us Former Asante Kotoko fan Yao Frimpong will be laid to rest today, Thursday, at a long-day funeral ceremony at the Baba Yara Stadium in Kumasi, Ghana. Frimpong, who was fondly called Nana Poli, was killed during a Ghana Premier League match last month. Police are still investigating the circumstances surrounding the death of the former devoted Kotoko fan. The funeral is expected to be attended by football administrators and supporters alike as they bid their final farewell to Nana Poli. Elsewhere, Liverpool have beaten PSG away after a tightly contested match in the UEFA Champions League on Wednesday night. Super substitute Harvey Elliott was the hero of the night as he scored the only goal of the match just little over 40 seconds after replacing Egyptian star Mo Salah. Liverpool have goalkeeper Becca to thank following his man-of-the-match performance in goal. PSG created numerous chances and had the lion's share of ball possession, but could not show for their dominance. The Paris-based club must get a win at Anfield to stand any chance of overturning the tie next week. Meanwhile, Bayern Munich came out on top in the Bayern derby after a comfortable 3-0 win against rivals Bayern Leverkusen on Wednesday night. Harry Kane's brace in either half of Jamal Musiala's goal earned the Bavarian club the vital points ahead of the return fixture next week. 10-man Barcelona beat Benfica 1-0 away from home to secure the 3 vital points. And Italian giants Inter Milan had the better of Feyenoord after a convincing 2-0 win on the night. And that's it for sports. It's back to you.
We've come to the end of this edition of Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal. Thank you for listening, and many thanks to Mustafa Sek, Mam Kodu Fai and Umun Jai for the technical support. Do interact with us via our social media platforms, X, formerly Twitter, Instagram at WADR News, and on Facebook, WADR English Service. Coming up at the bottom of the hour is our environment program, Enviroscope. At 1 p.m., Sani Mumuni Seibu will bring you the news in French, which is Info Chevu. I am Augustine Cully. Good afternoon.
And many thanks to you for listening to Newslink via Hot 104.3 FM, New Me FM.